Now first.
Having recently entered a new school, Ayato, our protagonist has not only won over every one of his opponents, but also every lady he encounters. Whether it's the unreachable princess or the shy middle school girl, Ayato has done it all. However, with all this action comes lots of envy leading up to Ayato's current situation, being trapped underground. Episode 7. Watching Ayato and Kirin fall into the pit are two girls from Alicant, Camilla, and Ernesta. Ayato and Kirin eventually regroup and look around. Ayato is distracted by Kirin a little bit. While staring at Kirin, a monster approaches, similar to the previous ones but much more ferocious. Ayato struggles and is thrown back into a wall by the monster. Kirin tells him if she is in his way to just sacrifice her. Obviously, Ayato isn't going to let that happen, so he assures her everything will be alright. Ayato then makes sure to compliment her while patting her head to show he means business. Ayato then pulls out his ogre lux and slices through a column, giving Kirin a place to sit. The monster attempts to land an attack, but its head is cut up by Ayato, revealing it can regenerate like the previous monsters. Ayato decides to enter his ultimate form and charge towards the monster, slicing its core in one go. After using his power, he is restrained again, causing Kirin to go into a state of panic. Ayato eventually wakes up and tells Kirin the truth behind his power. Ayato then asks Kirin why she is fighting so hard herself, and she explains. One day her father got caught up in a fight and ended up killing the other man out of self-defense, and he was convicted as a criminal. Kirin tells Ayato that the only way she can help him is by winning the festa, having one wish granted. Ayato tells her that if she keeps fighting for someone else, she will hit a brick wall and burn out. Ayato then reassures her that she won't be alone, even if she fights for herself. They both look towards each other, and Ayato sneaks a peek at Kirin, making her turn around uncomfortably. While they are talking, a group of men come to the rescue, saving Kirin and Ayato. After talking with Ayato, Kirin decides to have the courage to confront her uncle, asking why he uses her so much. Her uncle tells Kirin that she needs to stop involving herself with Ayato, him being a loser. Kirin tells him she doesn't want to, even taking a slap from her uncle. He realizes that she is stronger than him after his initial slap, tries to convince her to stay by her side. He continues to argue, and he tries this time to punch her in the face. Kirin stops this attack, tells him they are done. She will now live for herself. Kirin tells her uncle that going forward all of her decisions will be her own decisions. First, dueling Ayato. They arrive at the stadium, and Kirin tells Ayato that she listened to his advice, hence the reason for the duel. Ayato prepares himself, revealing that he isn't using his ogre lux, but rather a traditional energy blade. Watching this fight go on is Julius and the others in their own private VIP box. Lester tells them that Ayato is sure to win, showing he actually likes him. The battle begins by Kirin rushing Ayato with a flurry of sword strikes. Ayato not only blocks all the attacks, but reads her sword style in the process. Kirin reveals that her swordsmanship has different forms. This one will be the one to finish him off. She rushes in for an attack, but Ayato surprisingly switches to a spear, holding her off. Kirin finds it hard to move in close, till Ayato throws his weapons at her, switching blades again. He goes to a two-sword style, but once that doesn't work, he switches to just traditional grappling techniques. Kirin, on the ground, admits defeat to Ayato, making him the highest rank student. Before we continue, let's take a moment to answer the question of the day. Do you think Kirin purposely let Ayato win so her uncle would buzz off? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out in the next video. Now, back to the recap. After the fight, various members of Ayato's harem come to congratulate him, eventually Kirin herself coming. She asks Ayato if she can join his training sessions along with Julius. Julius objects, knowing Kirin could steal her man, but eventually agrees. Kirin thanks Ayato for letting her join his training. She is interrupted by her uncle banging on the door. He comes in yelling at Kirin, telling her without his advice she has already lost a duel, tells her to stop objecting and attempts to throw a punch, but it is blocked by Ayato. Ayato says some words to cover for Kirin, but this enrages the uncle even more. He yells at Kirin until Claudia interrupts, flexing her power within the school. He tells the uncle that if he continues to act this way, he'll tell her mother, an executive, what he is doing. Defeated, the uncle leaves. Kirin thanks him for everything he has done so far, despite being strict. Ayato then goes over to Kirin to comfort her, causing her to ask Ayato for a favor. Kirin asks Ayato to call her by her first name, and he agrees. While this is occurring, some Alicant members fight with new prototypes created by the Alicant girls. Two of them sit in their dark office and walk back videos of Ayato, displaying his skills. They celebrate after figuring out Ayato's biggest weakness, his time limit. Episode 8. The next day, Kirin and Saya train together, making them seem like the perfect duo. With one excelling at close range and the other, long range, they have every angle covered. After finishing their training session, they head to lunch where Ayato is asked for his first autograph. Everyone looks at him with envy, telling Ayato he is too nice. Yabuki tries to calm them down, saying it's big news for an unranked nobody to take down Kirin. Yabuki then moves on to Julis, saying when she became page 1 there was a large commotion. Julis tells them she is just smart and opens a browser, showing them the autograph already on the auction. Ayato asks Saya why she is competing in the festa, to which she explains she wants to prove her father's weapon strength. Ayato tells her that honorable, but they stand no chance against him and Julis. Saya tells Ayato that she and Kirin will strengthen their bond to become closer. Saya thinks that by becoming more friendly, they will become stronger in the process. Saya asks Kirin if she has ever had any friends, herself not other than Ayato. Kirin tells her she isn't good at making friends either, so the two relate to that. Kirin asks Saya what they should do to strengthen their bond, and Saya suggests they go shopping. Saya informs Kirin of her bad navigational skills, asking her to guide her around the city. While walking, Kirin asks Saya what she is looking for. She tells her a present for her father. They walk around various stores, but are unable to find any good gifts, so they regroup on a park bench. Kirin tries to figure out what would work as a gift, so she asks what her father likes. Saya informs her that her father is a mad scientist who gives her guns for her birthdays. Saya then thinks maybe he will like a gun as well, so they walk through a sketchy area to get to a black market shop. Kirin nervously follows Saya in asking where they are, having never been to somewhere so sketchy. Saya picks up a gun and tells Kirin what type it is, catching the clerk's attention. She decides to buy the gun and give it to her father as a gift, it containing a special generator. While walking back, Saya tells Kirin that it's her turn to find something she likes to do. Kirin thinks and eventually finds something she wants to do, being a little embarrassing, however. It is revealed they head to the pool where Saya teaches Kirin to swim. While swimming, Saya tells Kirin she should have asked Ayato to teach her. Kirin tells Saya that although she likes him, she doesn't want to bug him too much. Saya tells Kirin that knowing Ayato, he would probably offer to help if he knew she needed it. Saya tells Kirin that she is going to get some drinks, leaving Kirin to practice on her own. Kirin swims across the pool and decides to ram into some girl in her way. The girl gets back on her float and starts pressing Kirin for banging into her. Talking, the girl recognizes Kirin, asking if she is the #1 rank student. Kirin explains that she lost recently, but the girl knows she's strong regardless, so she backs off. Kirin informs the girl that the reason she knocked into her is because she can't swim. The girl starts laughing at her and tells her if she can't swim to go splash around in a kiddie pool. Saya notices this girl picking on Kirin and throws something at her face. The girl gets up angrily after being knocked down 2 times for no reason. She introduces herself as the #35 student of Queenvale Girls Academy, Violet. Saya laughs at her low rank and tells her to buzz off, them being in the middle of something. Violet makes fun of the two again, forcing Saya to accept her challenge. They both agree to the rules of the duel, summon their respective weapons. Saya specifically summons a huge gun, and after 1 shot, Violet is down for the count. Later that day, Saya and Kirin go for some cocktails. Saya tells Kirin to be more confident. Kirin tells her that she was at fault, but Saya reminds her that she is strong, can abuse her power. Saya tells her to have more pride, making Kirin realize how precious she is. Kirin thanks her for the compliment, asks Saya why she chose her as her partner. Saya informs her that not only is she strong and smart, but she follows the same type of sword style that Ayato does. Saya tells her that she knew it would work out between them after witnessing her style. Having bonded for a day, when they go to train the next day, the duo is on fire. Breaking the previous record of how many golems they can handle, they show off to Ayato and Julis. Episode 9. While they are having fun, training the president from another school guides his receptionist to a prisoner. Once they arrive, they are greeted by a ninja-looking girl who holds a high presence. The president informs her that he has a job for her, telling her to compete in the Phoenix Festa. He opens a browser, showing the woman a picture of Ayato and his weapon, the Cervesta. The president tells the woman that anyone who wields that sword is bound to be trouble in the future, so he wants her to deal with him quickly. The woman introduces herself as Irene, a vampire-like student. Finally, after all of the lead up, the Phoenix finally begins, starting with the opening ceremony. A man opens with a speech, and Julis reveals that he is a former winner of the Phoenix and alumni of their school. As they listen, Ayato notices the man glance towards him, making him think he is special. During his speech, he introduces a new rule, allowing machines to fight in the stead of the student if they so wish. He tells the audience that this year's festa will be on another level, initiating the confetti to fall. Looks around, thanking everyone like he just won the festa himself. Ayato and Julis prepare for their upcoming battle, firstly by getting some lunch. Ayato spots Lester and his grunt front, walking to their locker. He invites him to eat with them. Lester declines his invitation and announces that he will defeat him the next time they battle. This time, Saya approaches Ayato, along with Kirin. Kirin presents a homemade lunch to Ayato and asks if he will eat it. Ayato accepts it thankfully and opens it up to see it filled with rice balls. Julius criticizes them for making just rice balls, but Ayato assures her that it will be okay. After seeing Ayato pat Kirin's head, Saya joins in and asks to be pat as well. Julius gets jealous of this, so she tells them to go to their locker room. They all eat the rice balls and open up a browse to view the first battle of the festa. The announcers firstly explain the rules of the tournament, telling us that there are a total of 256 students competing. The festa will be double battles, so even if one student falls, as long as the other is still okay, the battle goes on. Kirin asks Julie if they have a strategy for their first battle, and she tells her that they will just wing it. The time eventually comes for their battle where Julius and Ayato are introduced, both as top fighters within their schools. With the rank 1 and the rank 5, it will be a tough battle for whoever has to face off against them. The battle starts and Julius tells Ayato to do all the work and defeat them alone. Ayato releases his shackles and enters his ultimate mode off the rip, bringing out his sword's true power. The other students notice his power up and stop in hesitation. Before they can move, they are eliminated. Within seconds, the battle is over for an overwhelming victory by Ayato. On their way back, Julius reveals that their plan is to use Ayato only as far as they can to hide their team attacks. As they approach the end of the hallway, a group of reporters awaits them, hoping to get the next scoop. They get into their locker room where Yabuki awaits them, informing them on their upcoming battle. Tells them that in their third match, they will be against students from Alicant. Yabuki suggests they go and watch an Alicant battle in preparation for their own. On the battlefield stands robots, being manipulated by the Alicant girls. As the battle goes on, Ernesta reveals information about the robots, hoping to make it seem more fair. Standing on the other side are members of Irene's school who are confident in their skills. They prepare to engage the robots, but are stopped after one starts talking. The robot tells them that he will give them a 1-minute head start. He won't fight back at all. These students get mad and start to walk towards the robot. The other, female-looking one, stops him. The larger robot announces that he must put on a performance, having all of these people watching. She agrees with him, tells him to uphold his promise regardless. The female robot then announces she won't attack for the first minute as well, making the other students become agitated. They rush in, hoping to take advantage of the handicap. The student sends his attack in, but it is blocked by an invisible force field. He continues to attack, but is unable to deal any damage, being equipped with the latest technology. The other student struggles with the robot as well, shoots every bullet fired at it with perfect precision. The magic user this time decides to stop wasting his time, using his strongest move on the robot. The robot stands untouched and announces the 1 minute is up. Students fall to the ground, exhausted from using their own abilities. They are finished off by the robots, ending the fight. Episode 10. Although the robot fight wasn't as fast as Ayato's, it was definitely a spectacular scene. Ayato and the others watching this match receive a call from Saya's dad, informing Saya that he is sending in a new gun. Saya tells him that she is already wielding one of his guns, so she will be fine. Everyone eventually leaves, giving Ayato and Julius some alone time. Ernesta, on the other hand, compliments her robots for carrying them to a win. The robots show gratitude to Ernesta, revealing she is their master and creator. The male robot gets handled by the other one, so he decides to ask Ernesta why he is unable to deal with her. Ernesta explains that he is programmed to never be able to attack the other, the female being a counterpart to the male. On the way to watch a match, Ayato and Julius run into Irene, beating up a group of thugs. The man with the mohawk, who was defeated previously by Julius, is put down again. After finishing the fight, Irene sees Ayato and approaches him. Julius gets in the way, asking Irene what kind of business she could have with her partner. The two argue back and forth until Irene eventually summons her weapon, proposing a duel. Ayato and Julius both move back, but the tension is eased when Irene's little sister approaches. She apologizes for Irene, telling them she is always going around causing trouble. The two of them leave, and Julius informs Ayato of the younger sister. Despite being Irene's younger sister, Priscilla is unranked. Ayato asks Julius why she was freaking out when approached by Irene earlier. Julius tells Ayato that she is a known delinquent who picks fights with people. They then receive a message informing them that Saya and Kirin's battle has begun. Kirin and Saya stand on the battlefield before their opponents, two monk-looking men. Saya summons her gun and prepares to blow them away while Kirin draws her sword. They start rushing towards each other, and Kirin easily handles the man, evading his attacks with ease and slicing his badge. On the other hand, Saya blocks all of the man's attacks with her gun, using it like a sword. She then charges up her gun and continues blocking the man's attack. He eventually jumps into the air, hoping to land a surprise attack, but Saya blows him away. The announcers pronounce Kirin and Saya the victors. After their fight, they head to the showers where Kirin asks Saya about her swordsmanship. Saya informs her that Ayato taught her some of his swordsmanship growing up. Ayato eventually stops peeping around and gets onto the battlefield for his fight. There they are greeted by two girls, claiming to be the prettiest duo. They rush Julius. He handles the both of them with ease, bombarding them with fireballs. One of the girls is knocked out while the other emerges fine. He tells Julius that's not enough to take her out, so Julius decides to just send in more attacks, feeding her with ease. Again, Julius and Ayato emerge victorious, only one needing to fight. After finishing the fight, Julius asks Ayato if he wants to eat. Ayato proposes the burger restaurant, him being broke, but Julius tells him she made lunch. Julius gives Ayato a bunch of homemade sandwiches and he digs in, enjoying them. Ayato asks why she made lunch, and Julius tells him that she can't stand seeing him only give head pats to the other girls. Ayato tells her that's no big deal, pats her head like the others until Julius slaps him off. She remembers there are other fights going on, so we transition to Lester against Irene. While Lester and his minion run around Irene hoping to land a hit, Irene stands patiently waiting to make a move. Lester reveals his plan is to run around the entire fight in order to wear Irene out from using her ogre Lux. Irene, however, smacks the ground with her scythe, rendering Lester's minion immobilized. Lester then rushes in, but he is put down just as fast. Irene walks over to the minion and finishes him off, then tells Lester it's his time to fall. Lester, on the other hand, has a change of plans, him sending in a powerful attack, forcing Irene back. Irene tells him it's time to get serious. She walks over to her sister. Irene sucks the blood of Priscilla, causing her to overflow with mana, regenerate her wounds. Irene explains to Lester that her ogre Lux needs blood to unleash its full power. She backs these words by summoning gravity balls that cause Lester to slow down tremendously. He attempts to block it, being unable to run, but his weapon is destroyed instead. Irene walks over to Lester and points her scythe at his neck, forcing Lester to concede the fight. Episode 11. Ayato, on the other hand, is congratulated by Claudia for making the finals in the tournament. She then lays on him, telling him it's been a while since they had some alone time. Ayato enjoys the moment, rushes off when he receives a call from a different girlfriend of his. Kirin appears telling Ayato that Saya has disappeared from her eyes. Ayato agrees to come look for her, which makes Claudia sad. Claudia tells him he has to make it up to her one day, and wishes him luck at finding Saya. Ayato wanders around looking for Saya, but instead he stumbles upon Priscilla. She's being chased by some thugs. Ayato saves her by jumping atop a building. He holds her closely until she jumps off him, knowing Irene would kill him if they saw them. Ayato asks why she was running. Priscilla informs him that her sister lost money at a casino and are being chased. Suddenly, Irene emerges from the sky, calling Ayato out for kidnapping her sister. Priscilla tries to explain the situation, but Irene tells her to shut up. This angers Priscilla, and she gets in Irene's face, telling her that Ayato helped her. Irene promises not to hurt Ayato and believes her. She still questions Ayato. Ayato gets a call and ignores Irene's question. He answers, and it's Saya and Kirin informing him they are all right and found each other. Ayato explains this to Irene. She apologizes for trying to fight him. Irene then shows Ayato the finals matchup, being her against Ayato. Later that day, Irene breaks into the president's office, demanding an explanation for why her sister was attacked. The president tells her that it doesn't matter if she gets attacked or not. She forces Irene to attack him. The president blocks the attack easily and tells Irene without him, he would have nothing. Irene tells the president she can't beat up Ayato now that she is indebted to him. The president then tells his secretary to do a tarot card reading, wanting to know more about who will win Irene's fight. The secretary assures him that Irene will win, and this puts the president at ease. The readings always having 100% accuracy. Ayato then informs Julius of the situation, and she asks him why he would save their enemy. Ayato laughs it off, telling her that they got invited to dinner as well. Julius agrees to go, but tells Ayato to stay on his guard till they arrive at Priscilla's apartment. After going inside, they see Irene, and Julius instantly goes in, calling her names. Before Irene can counter, Priscilla emerges telling the group that dinner is ready. Julius tries the food first and praises Priscilla for her cooking skills. Julius then asks Irene why she is competing in the festa, and she tells them for money. Priscilla then walks away, giving Irene a chance to explain the dark story. Irene explains that she is indebted to the student council president, and he uses her sister as leverage for his acts. Irene then informs them that her mission this time to pay off her debt is to take out Ayato. Irene explains that the president wants Ayato's ogre Lux destroyed, hence her mission. After asking her why he wants it destroyed, Irene tells them that it's potentially because of a past user of it. This makes Ayato think of his sister, and he decides the president is his key to learning more about her disappearance. Irene tells Ayato that she is no longer indebted to him after revealing this information, so she won't hold back when they fight. After they finish the food, Priscilla apologizes on behalf of Irene, knowing she is a little rude. Ayato asks Priscilla if she minds her when Irene sucks her blood. Priscilla reveals that it doesn't hurt her, however. When she drinks the blood, she becomes more hostile and scary. They walk home, and Julius asks Ayato if he is scared of their upcoming fight. Ayato tells her he is ready, and they go their separate ways. Having missed out on his time with Claudia earlier, he calls her up late at night, hoping to chat. Gets there and lets himself in, seeing Claudia stress in her sleep. Suddenly, Claudia wakes up, summons her ogre Lux, and starts attacking Ayato. After being pinned down, Claudia wakes up and realizes what she was doing. Claudia apologizes and explains that it's a side effect of her ogre Lux. Tells Ayato that her ogre Lux makes her experience her own death every time she falls asleep, whether it's illness or suicide. Her ogre Lux forces her to sleep with constant nightmares. Other than her, there has been no one who could withstand the power for more than 3 days. Ayato compliments her, telling her she must be strong to fight through all of that. Claudia thanks him and tells him there's a reason. Ayato asks why, but she keeps it a secret for now. Claudia explains that every ogre Lux has its own personality. Ayato's having one of the more gentle personalities. Claudia enlightens on another side effect of ogre Luxes, having the ability to change the user's state of mind. Ayato tells her it's time he leaves. Claudia urges him to spend the night. Episode 12. In the past, Priscilla was crushed by a boulder, but she ended up coming out fine thanks to her immense talents. Her parents then tried to sell them off for money. Irene took her sister and escaped. One day, the president approached Irene and threw her the ogre Lux, seeing if she could handle it. After seeing her unleash the blade, the president decided to grant any wish Irene had. She wakes up from her dream by Priscilla, alerting her it's time for their battle. Irene decides to suck Priscilla's blood before the battle, knowing it won't be an easy fight. Ayato and Julius, on the other hand, are pretty relaxed in their booth. Ayato goes over to Julius and whispers a secret to her, making sure we can't hear it. While walking into the battlefield, Julius reminds Ayato that no matter what happens, they will still be partners. Ayato tells her it won't be easy, but sure they will succeed. As they face off for this final fight, neither side shows fear, both sure of their victory. Off the rip, Ayato releases his shackles, unlocking his true potential, giving him the upper edge. Irene tells him if he will go full power, she will too. Julius starts the battle, flinging fire spheres towards Irene. She blocks them, but is engaged in battle again by Ayato, who overpowers her with his techniques. Irene continues to be pushed back and compliments the two for being able to handle her. Irene tells them it's time she stops messing around, and she sends in gravity waves. Ayato dodges this, and it opens up an angle for Julius to strike. However, Irene blocks this attack with ease and sucks more of Priscilla's blood. Ayato tells her that this way of fighting isn't right, and she needs to treat her sister better. They then continue to send attacks flying to each other's direction. Ayato closes the distance and strikes into the core of Irene's ogre Lux. He doesn't break it, but he gets a good hit on it, revealing their plan. Irene proceeds to summon a ton of gravity spheres and send them towards Ayato. Ayato then exceeds his limits, slicing everything that comes close to him. Ulysses takes this opportunity to strike, sending in her strongest attack. She engulfs the entire battlefield in flames, causing an uproar in the stadium. To their surprise, Irene is fine, covered in gravity spheres, but seems to be acting strange. Irene walks over to Priscilla, sucks more of her blood, exerting a crazy pressure. Unable to move, Julius and Ayato are forced to just stand by and watch as Irene sucks away Priscilla's life force. Ayato doesn't give up, however, marching towards Irene and telling her to stop. He seems to have heard him, dropping Priscilla, but instead, she releases even stronger gravity waves. During this, Ayato feels a strange sensation from his ogre Lux, telling him to march forward and take her down. Ayato releases the full potential of his own ogre Lux, giving him access to even more of his sealed strength. In a sudden strike, Ayato breaks all the gravity waves in the air and slices Irene's blade off. He then slams down into the core of the sword, destroying it for good and releasing Irene from its hold. With Irene being out, Ayato and Julius are announced the victors of the fight. The president watches from his office and witnesses Ayato being restricted by his chains. He realizes Ayato's weakness is his time limit, wonders if now is the right time to strike him again. He decides to wait for the Alicant girls to make their move first this time. The president isn't the only one watching this fight, however. Various different members of different schools watch as Ayato becomes restricted again after exhausting his power. The Alicant girls especially take interest in soon being able to battle Ayato. Days after the fight, Priscilla wakes up in a hospital after getting her blood sucked by Irene. She asks what happened. Irene tells her they lost, and the ogre Lux was broken. Rather than show grief, Irene seems happy that Ayato was able to defeat her and release her shackle to the president. Irene apologies for putting her in the hospital. Priscilla tells her as long as she is of use to her, she is happy. Julius, on the other hand, is angry at Ayato for pushing himself too much. She tells him not only is he exhausted, he revealed that he can only use his power for a limited time. Ayato tells Julius he won for her, having promised to always protect her. Ayato tells her that it's about time he deals with his seal and unlock his true potential. Julius assures him it's okay and that they will always be partners, and she tries to get a kiss in. Right when she gets close to having the first kiss, all the other girls run in, offering their chest as a place for Ayato to rest. The series ends with Ayato getting not only the victory, but all the babes as well.